Hi to everyone out there watching. I'm Jane Mackey at Austin Yacht Club for day 2 of the Team Race National Championships. Coming up on our 6th day here. I think Chris has been here the whole time, so looking good, Chris.
It certainly is, Jane. I'm Chris Love, and we are your hosts for the rest of the day. We're really excited to be bringing you the 2012 ICSA APS Team Race National Championship live from Lake Travis and Austin Yacht Club and hosted by UT. Jane, we've had a great time this week. We saw women's semifinals straight through to the finals. Couldn't have asked for a better finish the other day with, like we said, during our episodes of Chalk Talk in the past few weeks, coming right down to Annie versus Sydney. And then yesterday with the team racing, great breeze, finally some cloud cover so we don't all sweat to death, and just a great day of racing. Let's kind of recap what we saw yesterday in the opening group rounds of team racing.
Yeah, so we started out with our 2-group breakdown for the team racing yesterday. We had absolutely great breeze, I think the best breeze we've seen so far. We managed to get through the 2 groups and then straight to finish the first round robin of the gold group yesterday. I think at the end of the day we had Brown, Charleston and St. Mary's coming out on top. But still a lot of sailing left to go today. This afternoon they have the second round robin for the gold group, and we're starting off this morning, about to get started in 20 minutes or so with the silver round.
That's right, and if you haven't been following the live stream for the beginning of the regatta, the way this regatta works is everyone is pre-seeded. We have 14 teams who qualified from the 7 districts around ICSA. They're pre-seeded into 2 groups, and that's what we had yesterday. So that means that half the teams never get to face each other during the group matches. From there, they have a round robin. The top 4 from each group move on to gold. The bottom 3 move on to silver. So they got started with the gold round robin yesterday, and they actually completed 1 full. So it's sort of confusing, but you count all the group matches between teams who made gold, and then they finish up that round robin. That's where we are now. We're going to start off with the silver. Now, the silver doesn't work that way. They don't carry over any scores. We're starting fresh. So the teams that are leaving behind us actually are headed out with a clean slate, 0-0. Now, they can score no better than 9th overall because they didn't make the gold round. But, they've got basically a full regatta ahead of them today to prove, that they do deserve to be recognized here at Nationals. So before we turn to results and analyze what we've got coming up, I'd like to kind of show off our capabilities. Big thanks to our supplier for the event, GoPro. We're actually looking into a GoPro Hero 2 camera right now mounted here in the pavilion. We've got a few up around us, as well as a tripod mounted camera that's going to bring you the racing action. So let's take a look. We've got Chad Owen behind the director's chair switching cameras. Reed over there on the tripod, and Kate Taylor helping us out today. So we've got what should be a really good show, unprecedented coverage of team racing here today for Nationals.
Yeah, and we're watching University of Miami sail out right now. They had a pretty good day yesterday in terms of this fleet going out today. They're one of the top ranked teams in the silver fleet. So we'll be keeping an eye on them. Looks like they may have one of the first starts today.
So as we mentioned earlier, we're looking at a scheduled start time of 10 a.m., which is in about 13 minutes, and I think that should be accurate. We have been starting a few minutes late, but things are looking good now. We've got the course already set. It's right out in front of us, which is just fantastic. And we've got breeze coming from a steady direction, which is just great to see. So before we shut down and bring you back to the racing, I would love to bring in ICSA President Mitch Brindley, who's been on hand for all of these events. Mitch, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad y'all are here.
So Mitch, you've seen a lot of these. How many Nationals have you attended in your years as coach of ODU?
I thought you said you'd only ask questions I knew the answer to.
Estimate. Plus or minus 10 years.
Plus 10, definitely plus 10. A lot more than that. So yeah, this is great to have the coverage. We're thankful for the sponsorship from Maclaren to bring this media coverage to the team race, and it's a great day. The event's gone great so far. We had really tons of racing yesterday, ideal conditions. We got the race course set in really close, so the rotations just happen instantly. You'll see today that the pavilion here is just about in the race course, so it doesn't get much closer. I think we'll be right just top of the starboard tack lay line for the boat, and so it should be exciting.
And did you get to see a lot of the racing yesterday? And what can you tell us about the competition out there, the style of racing, and the conditions that we saw yesterday for that opening rounds?
Well, so yesterday, I was on the finish boat, and it was so great to watch. There was some really close racing coming in, especially later in some of the rounds, and changes happening within 5 boat lengths of the finish line. And to see the excitement on the sailors' faces as they crossed the line, clinching a position into the gold fleet and so forth, it was really good, and some great sportsmanship too out of the teams.
Well, we are going to take a short break before we bring on the first race of the day for Silver Fleet, but I'm just checking in with my computer here. We've got the live stream up. There's a chat room. I think you may have to sign up to chat, but feel free to leave us questions here in the chat room, post on the live page. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear. If you've got questions for any of us, we'd be happy to bring them to you. I think we're going to take a short break, but we'll be back with live action of the Silver Fleet, followed by the Gold Round, and lots more analysis and action here from Lake Travis. Thank you, Mitch.
Sure.
Thank you, Jane. And thank you to our presenting sponsor, Maclaren, who made all this possible. Couldn't have done it without you. We'll see you guys in just a few minutes. I'm not on. You're on. But I can use this mic. Okay, I'm on too. Well, it's the beginning of the day where we're still working out the kinks, but that's the fun of live production. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the morning show. We talked a little bit about the teams. I have an update for you. In the last 10 minutes, the breeze has actually come down significantly. We were reporting breeze conditions 8 to 10.
Yep.
It has come down as the sun came out. It's now getting maybe a little breezier. I think I see some dark water out there. We'll keep an eye on it, but we just heard horns. It sounds like we're getting ready for Silver Round racing.
Yeah, Chris, it's really light down there now. Yesterday we had amazing breeze, and we were actually a little worried that we might get the whole regatta done in 2 days. That today we could almost have enough breeze to sail all the races we need to, but looking out there right now, I think it's going to be a slow day. They're coming up in the first race actually right now. They're looking okay, but it's really, really light, really flat water, very different to yesterday. It's got quite a thick heat, humidity going on. But so right now we have Michigan in red and UC Santa Barbara coming up in blue. And interestingly enough, yesterday Michigan 0 wins on the board. UC Santa Barbara did pretty well. Couple of good wins, and we actually saw them take a really nice win off BC yesterday, one of the top contenders for this regatta. So watching them come up now.
So we're gonna kind of pick this race up in action here, just off the line. Now remember, the ICSA conditions say you can't start a race in less than 3 knots. That's just at the starting line. It can get as light as 0. It becomes a call for the race committee. When the boats stop moving forward and the umpires can no longer tell whether you're on starboard or port tack, that's when they'll call and cancel the race. But for the most part, they're going to let this thing continue unless they think conditions are unfair. And the umpires and the race committee will talk to each other and try to figure this out. So this is actually a pretty fantastic vantage point. This is the first race that we're getting to see around the course from this angle. Jane, it looks like boat 17 Blue is in the lead here.
Yep, and that's UC Santa Barbara. So they're looking like they've got a 1-4-6 right here. So Michigan doing quite well in this first beat. Really light though, look at 3. Definitely going to want to be using some good boat handling to keep the boats moving.
Yeah, and definitely a big left phase here. You can see that 90% of this beat has been on port tack. Now we're seeing the boats flop over. So if you're looking, we're going to see the marks come into view in just a second to the right of boat 17. You're going to see there's 2 orange marks and then there's the white mark, which would be closest. So if we can bring it back to the studio here, for those of you that are new to team racing, we're only going to go through this once, so if you guys are veterans, just, you know, tune us out for a minute. But if you're new to team racing, this is how the course works. This is called a digital N, and this is pretty much the international standard for team racing with one modification for college, and I'll get to that in a second. So normally in fleet racing, you know, you do port roundings. You come upwind to a windward mark. Let's see if I can do this without looking. Come up to a windward mark. Here it is. Thank you. And you go around it, leaving it to your left, your port side. In team racing, you leave it to the starboard side, which is actually pretty cool because it means that to round the mark, you need to tack onto port, which, as everyone knows, is not the right-of-way boat, so it becomes pretty exciting. Don't worry, you're not missing much here because they're just going around. We'll go back to the race in a second. They then come over to Mark II, a reach leg, very short reach leg, and then down to Mark III. Now, in international team racing, there's another mark, Mark IV, but we don't use that in college. We keep it simple. We go straight back upwind to the finish, which we have right out in front of the pavilion. So turning back to the race here, we'll see the boats have just rounded Mark I, and they're on that reach leg. So throughout the day, you're going to see the 2 orange marks. The one closest to us is the reach mark, Mark II. The one further away is the windward mark, Mark I. And then eventually you'll see the white mark. That's the finish, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, and Michigan rounding first up there. First and potentially third, I believe. 136, and that would be a winning.
That would be a winning combination, not a
them.
stable combination. We talk about in team racing, we really break it down to plays. There's play 1, which means that the goal is to get your team into a first and a second place. And it looks like they may have done that there on that reach leg. No, unless they can get inside. And here we are. We'll go back to the plays in a second. Let's watch this mark trap here. This is what they're trying to do. A 1-3 can easily be broken up and turn into a 1-4, which is not a winning combination. So the idea is to get into a 1-2, which is much more stable and much harder to break up. And so you can see the lead boat just stop there. They put their sail all the way out, headed up hard, and is trying to close the door. But of course the other team is doing the same thing. They're trying to make the conversion happen faster. So.
Yeah, and we see a position swap there. I think it was the 4th or 5th boat for Santa Barbara moves into second, and the other 2 going high, slowed down.
So now, when it all shakes out, it looks like Michigan has actually got a 1-4-5. That is a stable play. That is called a play 4 because the key boat there is the 4th place boat. But just as I say that, look at the top 2 blue boats, 17 and 16. They are kind of rolling right over that lead boat right now, aren't they?
Yeah, and I think in this group, Chris, what we have seen over the last day is just quite a difference in the speeds of these sailors. So, you know, team racing is quite different to fleet racing, where you actually have a lot of different dynamics going on and need to sail. Like in fleet racing, it's all about sailing as fast as you can to the next mark, and positioning matters. But it's different to team racing, where you have 3 boats and you really need to make sure that you have the right combination. And in this bottom half of the nationals here, we've been seeing a lot of differentials in how they're sailing the boats, how fast they are, and it's interesting watching them come down here. Where if a team just shines out and is faster, then team racing doesn't come into play as much. But it looks like Michigan's holding on.
Yeah, and so tricky in this light stuff to keep the boat moving fast.
It's nice and flat though, so that's making it a little easier to keep the boats moving.
Yes, it is. Now they got to be careful. You know, in college, getting back to kind of complicated rules, but I know we have a lot of sailors watching, not necessarily college team racers. So I'm going to try to explain the differences between the sailing you might be used to and what you're seeing here. You may be familiar with Rule 42, which says that your boat can only be propelled by the wind, the natural wave conditions, and your crew in normal position. What you can't do is accelerate the boat out of a tack or a jibe. Now in college, they tweak that a little bit. You still can't do a lot of rocking and pumping, but what you can do is come out of a roll tack or a roll jibe, or switching from a wing-on-wing situation to a reaching situation. You can come out of those maneuvers faster as long as your mast goes from vertical, away from vertical, and back. If you can't control that mast and it swings back and forth more than once or twice, the umpires out there are going to throw the red flag, and that becomes a big deal when it's light wind like this. You've got to be really on your game to do the maneuver well, to get the speed out of the tack or the jibe, but not too. Welcome back, and apologies to everybody who's been so patient with us so far today. We had a generator failure. We thought we were back up, but the audio apparently was, yeah, it didn't quite recover from the generator failure as fast as we'd hoped. Our internet connection, unfortunately, is shared with others in the neighborhood, so if it gets...
And we're down on the water.
Yeah.
We're right out here, so...
We are about a quarter mile from our internet access point.
Yeah. Beaming
wirelessly out to the end of the dock, so please bear with us. We're sorry that we can't have a perfect stream, but I've lowered the quality a little bit. It should be smoother. We've got audio back, and we've got racing going on the course here. This race continues between Miami and Texas A&M Galveston.
Yeah, and as we were watching out the first beat, Miami rounded the top mark in 1, 2, 3 quite convincingly. You can see that their last boat, their third boat, number 6, is back there mixing it up with Ute or Texas A&M to keep that gap and keep those front boats in the 1, 2. But it doesn't really look like they have to do too much, because the 2 of those Miami boats are pretty launched.
Let him move the cam. Sorry, we're trying to see around that pole in the corner. This pavilion is held up by 9 poles or so, and unfortunately we've got a little bit of a blind spot, especially with the new course position. So we'll get that squared away and get back to you. Coming up on the race course.
Just started in orange is Wisconsin versus Oregon in green. Looks like a pretty good start for Wisconsin in orange. One of the Oregon boats in green is launched there. Can't quite see what number that is, but good start for them, probably down near the pin. And the orange boats really capitalizing on the middle there. So coming into today, as Chris mentioned, the scores don't carry over, but just for reference, how they did yesterday, Wisconsin, one of the stronger teams, 2 wins yesterday. Oregon did have 1 win, so that's how they look coming in today.
Wisco here, looks like on that far side is sort of chasing their opponent. And it looks like, I think Oregon's going to win that battle. They're on port tack. They can't cross here, but Wisco just doesn't control that pair. It's going to come down to execution here. Whichever boat can continue to have faster, better roll tacks each time they bounce off and come back. And look at that. Wisco is not giving up. They're going to go back for more. Well, that one was a little bit of a dud on the follow-through of the roll tack, and you can see the Oregon boat getting to lured in ahead. If they can just pinch off a little bit, they're going to be free to tack. They're not at ley line yet, so I'd say Oregon has a chance here, but Wisco is looking pretty strong overall.
And amazing, we've seen in all of these races that it's very easy in this light air for one boat to get kind of lost behind. One of those Oregon boats, number 4 in the green, is sort of coming up in the tail end, and really big gap, but definitely not much use to their team members when you're in that position. We didn't see the start, but perhaps something happened there, and that's why they're so far behind as they come up the first beat. Also interesting, Wisconsin, we have 2 brothers on the team, the Kuchenreuters, and you know, team racing is very interesting with the team dynamics and how everyone gets along. What do you think? How do you think these brothers get along, Chris?
Well, you know, I know each of them individually. I've seen them race for years. Joe is the older brother. He's been on the Wisconsin Badgers sailing team for years. His younger brother George, I know from some of his junior sailing stuff and also sailing scows out in the inland lakes. They're both very mature. They're both very, very good sailors. I don't know what their brother-to-brother dynamic is
Must not be
like.
too bad.
I would hope not. If they're able to sail on the same team racing team, I would guess that they get along pretty well.
Yeah.
And it's hard to read sail numbers from so far away, but Joe should be in the low boats, which for this fleet would be
7, which is on the far left side.
Right, and then his younger brother George will be in boat 8, which is that middle boat on port tack right now.
So it definitely looks like Wisconsin has control of this race. Coming up in orange, covering the green boats, Oregon, coming to this top mark.
Just a reminder to all of you who are thinking about leaving the house today and want to take us with you, we are streaming in mobile compatible quality. Unfortunately, this platform does not let you watch our highlight videos on your mobile phone, but it does let you watch live video on your mobile phone. iPhones, Android, I believe, iPads. So if you're coming down to the venue, if you're headed out sailing, if you've got other obligations to attend to, don't forget to check in, same spot here. Go to the 2012 nationals.collegesailing.org page and look for the live media link to APS Team Race National Championship.
And we'll be here all day. This morning doing the silver round robin, and this afternoon the gold round robin. I think on the notice board this morning they had a notice asking the gold competitors to be down here at 12, which is in 20 minutes. It seems a bit early for them because they're not going to get started till after these guys.
Jane, I think you're still on East Coast time.
Right.
Locally, it's an hour and 20 minutes.
Okay,
away.
good. And as we're chatting here, Miami just won the race against Texas A&M with a 1-2 and still finishing as they're both likely in 6th here. Rounding the top mark in the next race, Wisconsin in a 1-2, 1-2-5 it looks like. Pretty solid combination here, nice gap between 2 and 3, Wisconsin with Oregon tailing.
Now we'll try to keep everybody up to date with the results, but if you want to check in yourself, don't forget that we're doing, well, I shouldn't take credit for this, the University of Texas sailing team, who's done such a fantastic job of running this regatta and helping out with almost every aspect. The UT sailors are doing live scoring, which you can access from the same Nationals website that they've put together, 2012nationals.collegesailing.org. So I might suggest that you pull up those live results and put it in a separate window and watch our live stream at the same time. That way you'll be able to keep up, as we are, with the results as they come in. And remember, this is only a 6-team round robin. It's a single round robin. These are pretty important races here. And then the difference is finishing 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, and 14th. So it's not exactly the highest stakes, but every win and every loss is probably going to mean a different overall finish for these guys.
Yeah, and for some of these teams, this might be the last regatta of this season. Maybe, you know, seniors a lot of them have already finished school, and this is their last sort of college sailing hurrah. So it's pretty important for them.
Apologies for the obscured view here. We are standing just above the rotation dock, and so you can see the blue sail that just got out of the way. That was UCSB coming in for a bit of coaching before they head out again. We're just going to have to deal with that throughout the day. But we do have the overhead cam, so hopefully that'll go up and over these masts. That's pretty terrific, actually. Look at that. All right, so the green and orange are the last race of the flight. Each flight will have 3 races, at which point the sailors come in, switch boats, and head back out. So the next race will be UCSB versus Texas A&M Galveston, but Texas A&M is just hitting the dock now, so we are going to have a little bit of a break between the finish of Flight 1 and the beginning of Flight 2. Once we get into the gold round, things should move a little bit faster with teams waiting on the dock. They won't be waiting for teams to get off the water to get into the boats, so that will speed things up a little bit. But for now, we're going to have to wait and see if Oregon can do anything here on this downwind leg. You know, at this point, it's more like a fleet race. They're just trying to go as fast as they can. You can't slow a boat from behind when you've got 4 or 5 boat lengths between you. They really need to get in, closer to about 2 boat lengths to try to do anything downwind. It looks like it's really going to come down to this upwind leg. Wisconsin's going to try to spread out, play, sort of a zone defense, if you will, and avoid letting Oregon get to the corners, get leverage, get a lucky shift or whatever. And that's, of course, what Oregon is going to try to do. So we're just on the edge of the view there. I wish they would move that mark, another 12 feet to the right. This is gonna be tough for us today. Maybe we can put a GoPro up on the top of the pole there. We've got it pointed at our dock right now. You can see our changing dock is a flurry of activity as the teams switch boats. But I wonder if we could angle that same camera up to the leeward mark so we can see leeward mark roundings a bit better. Well, it's a work in progress. We're here for 2 days, Jane. We've got live coverage all through the day, the end of gold round 2. I've been assured by ICSA officials that we won't push for the Final Four today unless tomorrow's weather forecast looks really terrible. So we will be bringing you the Final Four, which, knowing these teams and knowing how close racing has been so far, the Final Four should determine the podium spots for the national championship. It is possible, if someone races really well this afternoon, it's possible to clinch a win before the end of the regatta, but I think more likely it'll be the Final Four.
Yeah, they're all pretty close.
Well, peering through the Annapolis Performance Racing logo on boat number 12, we can see that Wisconsin is doing a nice job containing Oregon and trying to keep 2 of their boats between all of the Oregon boats and the finish line. Oregon boat 15 coming all the way out to us. This will be a nice chance to see some up-close racing. They're going to come as far to the right as they can, hoping to get a huge header that's going to allow them to catch back up, but 8 and 9 are right there.
Not so much hope left.
I'm not seeing this working out for Oregon at all. Well, there they go. But now everybody's ley line, or just about. Nice tacks there from Wisconsin.
Yep, their job is easy right now, especially with this pretty straight breeze and flat water. Definitely a very different day to yesterday. We had a lot of chop yesterday, bigger breeze, lots of puffs rolling down, and I think, in my opinion, it's always nice at a nationals to get a varied set of conditions. Really makes you feel like the winning boats can sail across the different conditions and that the winners really deserve it, so it's pretty cool. Really close to the finish here, and doesn't look like there's too much else that Oregon can do. Wisconsin crossing the line in just a couple seconds, and first and second, and that'll be a win for them.
So well done. I think we should update our team racing roster. I was told that Joe Kuchenreuter would be in the low boat, George would be in the middle, and Andrew Fox would be in the high, but I'm pretty sure Andrew Fox was in boat 8 there.
Maybe we can catch them as they come by.
Yeah, and
but
remind them to stick to their rosters that they gave me. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. Well, we apologize again for the varying quality. We do have a fast internet connection, but it is being shared, and it is not 100% steady down here. So if you're experiencing jitters in your computer feed. It's not you, it's me. Sorry about that. It's really the best we can do, given the fact that we are on a lake that varies in level between, oh, I don't know, 60 feet or so. And right now it's pretty far down. You can probably see on the horizon when we turn around and look out. There's pretty clearly the water line, the max water line is way above. And the last time Nationals were held here was 2005, I believe. And does that sound right? 2005, or was it earlier than that?
Yeah, that sounds
yeah,
right.
Seven,
Right
it would be
before.
the 7 years
Yep.
ago that comes through. The water level was much higher. The yacht club was about half the distance that it is now. And so that's the challenges that we're dealing with. But you know, a lot of people have been asking how that's going to affect the racing, having the lake so low. You know, I would say they're in a different race course. They're out here instead of in closer. But I don't think it would be any different. You know,
typical college sailing venue.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you get lucky and you get to sail somewhere like San Francisco, but that's not typical college sailing either. So do you prefer to sail somewhere that's totally awesome, big breeze sailing, or what you're used to sailing and what you practice in every day?
Right. Yeah, I'd say this lake is actually, from what we've seen the past few days, it's not been the same every day, but it's been very much like a lot of other lakes and rivers that colleges are used to sailing on. We get shifts, we get effects off of the land. I mean, there's no downtown Boston sitting in between the windward mark and the breeze direction, but.
And at the end of the day, you have to be able to sail in everything anyway. So for these guys that have been practicing all year and potentially, 1 to 4 years in college to be here, this is what they're used to. This is what they're coming here for.